This is a response video to MJ Tanner's video, Spite is Ruining Media, and if I say anything that's wrong, feel free to reach out to me and point out any faults or discrepancies.
Oh wow, that's why I'm here!
MJ's video is just a pedantic regurgitation of shit I've heard before with no cohesion, and it's been living in my head rent-free because I think it embodies my issue with all those anti-woke grifters and all-around cynical criticism of Western media that insults their audience, which explains why they're failing.
Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about, because Jay of MJ Tanner isn't even an anti-woke grifter at all.
Ultimately, a lot of this does boil down to politics. For a long time now, there's been an effort to push things like diversity, equity, and inclusion in modern media, both from individual activists and also big companies behind the scenes, like BlackRock, which state as much on their websites. But unfortunately, the way they handle these messages tend to be very heavy-handed, and they often insist that long-existing IPs need to be updated for modern audiences, or even that they have to fix these original properties because they have harmful messages.
Oh look, Jay straight up says that DEI isn't a problem itself. It's the arrogant way individuals and companies go about it that's a problem. Like, I believe that wokeness is essentially just soft language for hating minorities, since wokeness is always used to refer to the LGBT, people of color, and women. And even I didn't get the impression that Jay believes in anti-wokeness.
I don't think political themes are inherently the problem here, because you can have stories with strong political themes that resonate with audiences. It's just that those themes have to serve the story, instead of just being there to stick it to the audience. For example, Static Shock is very well remembered, and that show dealt with a lot of political themes, like racism, homelessness, and even school shootings, but these topics were handled with a level of nuance, and the stories they tell are grounded. But unfortunately, that's something that's been missing in these activist-driven shows. Most of the time, the characters end up being stereotypes or caricatures, even ones that we're supposed to be rooting for, but that's because they're not as important as the message that they're trying to push, and it just ends up being awkward and falling flat.
Here's her saying that political themes aren't even an issue, even using a show like Static Shock, one that was done from a lens of progressivism, as an example. The anti-woke crowd tends to be the ones saying to keep politics out of media.
Doctor Who recently shook things up by having a bi-generational doctor. They brought back David Tennant, probably for nostalgia bait. But anyway, he's now alongside the 15th Doctor, who was the first queer and black Doctor, but the lead up to the series was again very spiteful and confrontational. There's already been a lot of drama surrounding Doctor Who, and this is just adding to it. They immediately come out with a rage-baiting post calling out straight white men, which they know is going to get a lot of pushback in this day and age, but that's what rage bait is for. They also made multiple statements about how if you don't like it, then don't watch it, only for the show to premiere with the lowest rating since it first premiered way back in the 60s. They were very adamant about the direction they wanted to go in, even though they did acknowledge they were getting backlash for it. Like Ncuti Gatwa, the actor who is playing the 15th Doctor, saying that he wanted to have a fight scene where he twerks a monster to death. That would certainly be a choice. It just comes off like a big spectacle, instead of taking the story more seriously. And you know how sci-fi nerds are. I say that with love, I'm one of them. This isn't even the first time they're talking about LGBT themes on the show. Back in 2005, they introduced a character named Captain Jack Harkness, who was openly bisexual and played by an openly gay actor, and that character was so popular he got his own spin-off series called Torchwood.
Here's her saying that gay characters can work and even be successful. The anti-woke crowd tends to rally against the inclusion of any gay characters, really.
It kind of comes off like when Disney kept saying that they were introducing the first gay character, and they did it like 7 times. Just saying.
She's not even upset with the inclusion of woke characters. She's mad that Disney claimed to be doing this several times. Not to mention how these characters included a lesbian couple making out for a few brief seconds, which was removed overseas, and the possibly lesbian Cyclops from Onward, who had less than 10 minutes of screen time and only mentions having a girlfriend, which is so vague to the point where it could mean a girl who is a friend. Needless to say, way, Disney isn't really woke, unlike how several conservatives see it, and I'm sure Jay would agree, given her comment about how Disney said that they made their first gay character several times, most likely claiming this several times because of how unimpactful their other gay characters were. Like, you present this video in the least charitable, most dishonest way possible. If I didn't know any better, I would have assumed that the twin sisters behind MJ Tanner were this generation's version of Randy Weaver, isolating themselves from the rest of society because they were too afraid of interacting with minorities.
Which, by the way, Hollywood isn't dying. They're doing just fine. Null periods are normal for all businesses.
I never got the idea that Jay was saying how Hollywood was dying. She was mainly going over specific examples of media made out of spite. By the way, you never play any clips from Jay's video. And I guess you don't necessarily have to, but the fact that you give no context, and the fact that you keep misinterpreting everything is not a coincidence.
And you're not even unique for having any of these opinions. You're just because you don't see Hollywood parodying what you guys say doesn't make you guys any special. Yeah, good for you that you believe that spite is ruining media and that story is the most important thing in any movie or show, but I don't see why you think you're special for believing that. Everyone agrees with you, it's media consumption 101.
When did Jay act like she was special for believing this? Her video was merely based on the thesis that spite is ruining media, and she was using incredibly unpopular shows like Mr. Burcham, Velma, and some Disney remakes as case studies. You really think that she thinks she's special for disliking Burcham and Velma? Get real.
Dear HBO Max, I just learned you intend to make a genre-bending comedic origin story of Judy Jetson. When I heard this new version of Judy Jetson wouldn't be boy crazy, the only word I had to describe my disgust is jinkies. If there is one thing the internet agrees on, it's that you should never change anything ever. I hope you die. Sincerely, Velma.
That was a clip from the first teaser trailer for Velma last year. I think they were trying to get in front of whatever backlash they thought they would receive, but it didn't really work out for them in the long run. But I think this attitude speaks to a wider problem when it comes to entertainment pretty much across the board, at least in my opinion, which is spite.
She's aware of them being hated.
And it's bombing in the ratings. Well deserved. Even conservatives are saying that it sucks.
Actually, can we stop calling ourselves consumers of media? You keep on saying you hate slop, so why do you have to say that we consume movies and not say that we just watch them? Because calling people consumers sounds insulting when you bring up how most movies these days are slop. We're not pigs. We're monkeys.
Literally something she doesn't do. Are you starting to see a pattern here? Was this video made by Clive Wearing? Because only someone whose memory resets every 7 seconds could make this mistake. And maybe you could argue this video is a response to anti-woke rhetoric in general, but then why is it being directed to MJ Tanner? Criticism tends to be directed to those it pertains to.
I just don't see how you can live like this, analyzing media and parroting what everyone says and acting like what you say is unique and cutting edge. Does it make you feel empowered by speaking out against Disney? Does it feel great to be passionate about preserving the artistic integrity of fucking children's entertainment? Do you feel all this spite in media is targeting you in particular, MJ, just because you don't like Captain Marvel or the Ghostbusters reboot? Let's take a step back for a second.
I agree. Let's take a step back because this video is a massive straw man. She never even mentioned those properties. She played footage from the Marvels once
Ultimately, a lot of this does boil down to politics.
and didn't mention it by name. I could continue, but there's no point when I've already made my point clear. He goes on about Brie Larson, who is someone Jay never mentioned in the video he's responding to.
Every time these industry pros talk about haters, they specify that those haters are bigots. Just because they call their critics haters and bigots doesn't mean that they are calling you in particular a bigot, MJ. They don't mean the rational critics, they mean the really vocal haters that harass actors on their Instagrams. Like if a woman got back from a long day at work and she said, "I hate men," she doesn't literally hate the male gender, she's just really tired of the men she had to deal with at her job. People shouldn't have to be super mega specific about their speech. Brie Larson doesn't hate white men, she just thought it was weird that white men are the ones that get attention when talking about media for black women in particular. I mean, you don't go to a rich white guy for his opinions on the black struggle.
Maybe Jay did mention Brie in another video, but maybe you should have responded to that video instead. You seriously need an earwax removal, because this inattention to what you're talking about is unacceptable.